The city of Lagos never truly sleeps. From the palace walls of Oba Adeyemi, the heartbeat of the bustling city could be heard, horns blaring, traders calling, drums beating faintly from distant streets. But inside the high marble gates of the palace, silence ruled. The air was calm, as if every stone, every tree, every bird perched upon the roof knew that the greatest treasure within was not the gold-lined throne room or the tall towers. It was the princess, Princess Amara. At 22, she was the jewel of Lagos. Her beauty carried a warmth that seemed almost unreal. Her skin glowed like polished ebony, her long braids were threaded with coral beads, and her eyes carried the calm of a flowing river. Yet it was not her appearance that drew people close. It was her smile. Her smile was unlike any other. When her lips curved, something invisible filled the air. A trader who had been crying over his failing business would suddenly sell all his goods within an hour. A mother who had been barren for years would conceive after crossing her path. A soldier with a broken leg healed faster than any doctor could explain after Amara simply greeted him with kindness. Her smile brought fortune. But fortune, as Elder Afani would often say, is never free. The first whispers began in the palace courtyard, where guards in bright red wrappers carried spears tipped with polished iron. They had seen what Amara's smile did to people. When she walked past, their worries seemed to vanish. Some would say her presence made them feel untouchable, as though no weapon of man could harm them. Yet beneath their awe, a shadow of fear began to creep. One night, as the moon hung low and silver across the palace towers, Elder Afani stood before King Adeyemi. The old man's gray hair framed his face like cotton, his dark wrinkled skin glistening in the lamplight. He leaned heavily on his carved staff, his eyes darting restlessly. "My king," his voice rasped, almost breaking. "Your daughter's smile carries power not of this world. I have read the old scrolls. I have seen the patterns. Every gift from the spirits hides a cost." King Adeyemi shifted in his high-backed throne, his royal agbada flowing around him in waves of white and gold. His trimmed beard twitched as his lips tightened. "What are you saying, Elder Afani? That the gods have cursed my daughter? That her blessing is a danger?" The queen, Mornike, sat nearby, wrapped in a shimmering lace wrapper of blue and silver. Her geli stood tall, crowning her with elegance, yet her face was troubled. She reached for the king's arm gently. "Oba, perhaps we should listen," she whispered. But Adeyemi's pride was firm. "My daughter is no curse," he said, his deep voice filling the chamber. "She is the jewel of Lagos. Her smile is a gift from the ancestors themselves." Yet even as he spoke, Elder Afani's warning clung to the air like smoke refusing to fade. The palace servants had their own stories. Ayabo, a maid with sharp features and a thin scar running across her cheek, often watched Amara with mixed emotions. She was older, in her 30s, and though she respected the princess, envy burned quietly in her heart. It was Ayabo who first whispered among the other maids. "Have you not seen it?" she said one evening as they scrubbed the polished floors. "Whenever she smiles, something changes. The very air bends. It is not natural." The younger maids giggled nervously, dismissing her words, but they carried unease in their eyes. The legend of Amara's smile was already spreading through Lagos. Traders, fishermen, and travelers all spoke of her. Some came to the palace gates not to see the king, but to catch just a glimpse of the princess. And every time she smiled, another miracle followed. A fisherman pulled in nets bursting with more fish than he could count. A child who had fallen ill with fever recovered overnight. A widow who had lost everything suddenly received wealth from a forgotten inheritance. The city praised her. But those who understood the old ways, like Elder Afani, began to worry. One afternoon, Amara sat by the royal gardens. The palace flowers bloomed brighter when she walked among them. Even the birds seemed to sing louder. She loved the peace, the way the wind carried scents of hibiscus and jasmine. She was dressed in a flowing gown of white, beads at her neck and wrists shimmering under the sun. Prince Damilare, the young nobleman, approached her. He wore a well-embroidered white buba and sokoto, with a deep green cap angled stylishly. His clean-shaven face was handsome, and though he was of noble blood, he carried himself with warmth and humility. "My princess," he said softly, bowing slightly, "the people of Lagos cannot stop speaking of you. They say your smile has turned their lives into gold. Amara laughed lightly, her voice gentle. I do not know why they say so. I only greet them as any daughter of this land should. Damelaire's eyes lingered on her, filled with admiration. Perhaps you do not see it yourself, but there is something about you, something beyond the reach of men. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden wind that rustled the garden leaves. The air turned cool, almost unnaturally so. For a moment, Amara shivered, and though Damelaire smiled to comfort her, he too felt it. That presence, faint but heavy, unseen, unnamed, watching. That night, Amara dreamt. She stood in the middle of a vast ocean, though she did not sink. The waves rose around her, shimmering with silver light. A figure emerged from the waters, half human, half shadow, with glowing eyes that pierced her soul. Child of fortune. The voice was deep, echoing across the sea. Every smile you give brings a gift, but every gift will demand a price. Amara froze, her lips trembling. Who are you? What price? The figure's shadowy hand reached out. The waters around her darkened. Your smile is bound to me, it whispered, and soon they will see the truth. Amara gasped and woke up in her chamber, her heart pounding, sweat trickling down her brow. She clutched her chest, staring at the moonlight streaming through the window. She wanted to scream, but no sound left her lips. And so it began. The city of Lagos celebrated her, calling her the princess whose smile could change the world. But within the palace walls, fear was growing. Elder Afani prayed every night, whispering ancient chants. Queen Mornike could no longer sleep in peace, her dreams filled with dread. Ayabo, the maid, sharpened her suspicion, watching Amara like a hawk. And Amara herself, she began to wonder if her smile was truly a blessing, or a curse waiting to break. The rains came heavy over Lagos that week, as though the heavens themselves were unsettled. Thunder rolled across the city's skyline, shaking the palace walls. Amara stood by her chamber window, her eyes fixed on the storm outside. She had not spoken of the dream, yet its voice clung to her like chains. Every time she smiled at someone, the words returned. Every gift will demand a price. And then it happened. A wealthy merchant, Chief Balogun, arrived at the palace gates to offer tribute to the king. He was a stout man in his 50s, his agbada layered with gold embroidery, his bald head shining with raindrops. When he saw Amara in the courtyard, he bowed deeply. Princess, he said with reverence, may the gods keep your path bright. She smiled, softly, innocently, and in that instant, Balogun's eyes widened. His phone, which had been silent for weeks due to financial ruin, buzzed with messages. A foreign investor had just transferred funds into his failing company. The miracle had returned. But as the merchant rejoiced, a cry echoed from the palace kitchens. A pot had spilled into the fire, and Ayabo, the maid, screamed as the flames caught her wrapper. Servants rushed to put it out, but by the time they succeeded, her leg was burned. Two events, happening the same moment. Fortune in one corner, pain in another. Amara froze. Could this be the price? That night, Elder Afani summoned the royal family to the shrine within the palace walls. The shrine was a small stone chamber, lined with cowries, feathers, and carved masks of the ancestors. Palm oil lamps flickered, casting trembling shadows across the walls. My king, my queen, my princess, the old man said, his staff planted firmly in the earth. This is no ordinary gift. I warned you. Fortune walks hand in hand with misfortune. Her smile is a doorway, and something waits on the other side. The queen trembled, clutching her wrapper tighter around her body. Then what do we do, elder? What spirit has tied itself to my daughter? The elder's eyes sank deep into Amara's. The spirit of the sea, child. The one whose voice you heard. She feeds on balance. Each time you give fortune, she takes something in return. And if not stopped, the price will grow heavier. The room went silent. King Adeyemi shook his head, his pride still resisting. Enough. My daughter is not cursed. She is chosen. But as he spoke, the flames of the shrine lamps flickered violently. For a moment, a whisper filled the room, a voice only Amara heard. Soon, they will all pay. She clutched her chest, her knees weak. The curse did not wait long to show its face. Days later, Amara was invited to a festival at Tafawa Balewa Square, where Lagosians gathered with drums, dances, and masquerades. The city's streets were alive with color, red geli, white wrappers, painted masks, and the sound of bata drums echoing like thunder. The people cheered when Amara arrived. Children ran forward, stretching their hands toward her. Traders pressed forward to catch her attention. When she smiled, the crowd erupted with joy. A man who had been struggling with blindness suddenly claimed he could see. A young girl fainted, then rose to say her sickness was gone. But even as the miracle spread, a strange heaviness covered the square. Suddenly, one of the masquerades, its mask painted red and black, raffia skirts swaying, collapsed on the ground. The drummers stopped. A scream rose from the crowd. The dancer was dead. Panic spread. People whispered. Some said the gods had taken a life to balance what Amara's smile had given. Billionaire rushed to her side, holding her trembling hand. His voice shook. Amara, this cannot be ignored. You must see this curse for what it is. Her lips trembled, tears filling her eyes. She could not deny it anymore. Every blessing she gave left a shadow of tragedy behind. That night, the dream returned. This time she was not standing on the ocean, but sinking into it. The waves pulled her deeper, and the shadowy figure rose again. Its glowing eyes pierced her soul. Do not resist me, child, the spirit hissed. Your smile belongs to me. The more they worship you, the stronger I become. You cannot escape. Amara screamed, bubbles escaping her lips as water choked her lungs. She woke in her bed, gasping for air, her body soaked in sweat. But beside her bed, dripping wet footprints led from the window to the door. She was not alone. By now, Ayabo had begun to spread her suspicions among the palace staff. She limped from her burn injury, her resentment growing sharper each day. Do you not see? She told the guards one evening. The princess brings fortune to strangers, but suffering follows within these walls. This is not the work of the ancestors. It is the work of dark spirits. Some servants laughed nervously, but others nodded. Fear was growing. Even the guards, once firm in their loyalty, now watched the princess with unease. The palace was no longer at peace. Meanwhile, Amara's own heart was at war. She still loved her people, still wanted to bless them with her smile. But with every smile came fear, fear of the unseen price. And the spirit's voice grew louder. Soon, the curse will no longer hide. Soon, all Lagos will pay for what they have taken. The sun rose over Lagos, but the light carried no joy. Instead of the usual chorus of traders, horns, and children running along the streets, the city felt heavy, as if the skies themselves were waiting. Princess Amara sat quietly in her chamber, her reflection in the bronze mirror trembling with each breath she took. Her smile, the gift everyone praised, now felt like poison on her lips. She could still see the festival dancer's lifeless body falling in her mind. The curse was no longer hidden. It was spreading. The first signs came from the marketplace at Balagan. A young trader had been begging for fortune, his stall nearly empty of buyers. Amara, moved by his tears, offered him a gentle smile as she passed. The man's luck turned instantly. Customers swarmed, buying everything he had. His face shone with joy. But before night fell, fire swept through a section of the market. 3 stalls were burned to ash. The same customers who had gained now wept in loss. The people began whispering. Her smile brings fortune and misfortune. Within the palace, fear deepened. Ayabo, her burn scar still fresh, spread her words sharper than knives. She is not blessed, she said openly in the servants' quarters. She is marked. For every gift she gives, someone else pays the price. The city will soon know, and when they do, none of us will be safe. The guards listened in silence. Their faces showed no agreement, but their eyes betrayed their fear. Even those sworn to protect Amara now kept their distance. The queen tried to silence the talk, but rumors were rivers in Lagos. Once they began to flow, no hand could stop them. King Adeyemi stood strong, at least in public. Dressed in white agbada embroidered with gold, his crown high on his head, he faced the city chiefs in the palace hall. "My daughter is not cursed," he declared, his voice echoing. "Her smile is the blessing of our ancestors. Do not be deceived by fear." But as he spoke, thunder cracked outside though the skies were clear. The palace doors slammed open on their own. For a brief moment, every lamp in the hall flickered. Silence fell. Even the king's heart trembled. That night, Amara's dream returned, more violent than ever. She found herself walking the streets of Lagos, but the city was drowning. The ocean had risen, waves crashing through buildings, pulling people into the deep. And there, standing in the flood, was the same shadowy figure, its form clearer now. A woman's face emerged beneath the darkness, her skin pale like the moon, her hair long and wet, her eyes glowing like burning coals. The spirit's voice thundered. "You cannot run, child of fortune. Lagos will drown for every smile you give. You belong to me." Amara screamed, clutching her head. "No, I never asked for this. Leave them alone." The spirit stretched out its hand, water rising around Amara's throat. "You are mine. Your city is mine. Smile again, and watch them pay." Amara woke with a scream, her chamber windows shattered, water dripping onto her bed as though the ocean had been there. The following morning, the curse spread beyond whispers. At a wedding in Surulere, Amara was invited as a guest of honor. She tried to hide her fears, but the people begged for her smile. When she gave it, the bride and groom were blessed with unexpected wealth from a family inheritance. The crowd rejoiced, but as the drums pounded and the dancing filled the hall, the roof suddenly collapsed. Timber fell, crushing several guests. Blood stained the floor. The city could no longer deny it. Her smile was both a blessing and a curse. Lagos trembled. Markets closed early. Families locked their doors. Some whispered that the ocean itself was angry. Fishermen reported seeing strange shapes beneath the waves, eyes glowing in the dark waters. Others claimed to hear a woman's laughter when no one was there. The fear turned to anger. Crowds gathered outside the palace gates, some carrying placards, others holding charms, shouting, "Stop the princess! End the curse!" The royal guards blocked them, but the unrest grew louder by the day. Inside the palace, Amara broke down in Damelaire's arms. "I never wanted this," she sobbed, her face buried in his chest. "I only wanted to help them. Now they fear me, they hate me." Damelaire's own eyes were heavy with sorrow. "This is not your fault, Amara. Whatever spirit bound you chose this path, not you. But if we do nothing, Lagos will tear itself apart." Amara pulled back, her face pale. "Then what must I do?" Elder Afani, who had stood silently in the corner, stepped forward. His voice was deep and heavy. "You must face her, child. The spirit who bound you will not stop until she takes what she wants. If you resist, Lagos will drown in her wrath." Amara stared at him, trembling. "And if I face her?" The elder's eyes darkened. "Then you may lose everything." The curse had reached its peak. Lagos was no longer celebrating the princess with the smile of fortune. Now, they whispered another name, the Princess of Doom. And as the ocean winds blew harder against the shores, the city braced for what was coming. The storm was only beginning. The night came heavy over Lagos, darker than any in memory. The city's streets, usually alive with music and noise, were quiet. The ocean winds blew harder, rattling doors and windows, whispering like voices from another world. In the palace, Amara sat in silence, dressed in a flowing white gown. Beads shimmered at her wrists, but her face carried no joy. Her once cherished smile was gone. The curse had turned her into a prisoner of her own gift. Crowds had gathered outside the palace gates that evening, torches burning, voices rising in anger. End the curse. Save Lagos. Give her to the sea. The guards held them back, but fear burned in every eye. Inside, King Adeyemi paced the throne room, his agbada dragging against the polished floor. His voice was broken, filled with both anger and despair. "They will not stop, Mornike," he said to the queen. "If we do nothing, they will storm the palace." Queen Mornike's face was streaked with tears. She clutched Amara's hand tightly, her geli loosened from hours of weeping. "She is our child, Adeyemi. We cannot let them take her." Elder Afani, leaning on his staff, spoke with heavy authority. "It is not the people you must fear, my king. It is the spirit herself. The sea has claimed the princess. If she is not given, Lagos will drown." The words struck the chamber like thunder. Amara rose slowly, her voice trembling. "Then I will go. If this is the price, if this will save Lagos, then I will face her. No, the queen cried, falling to her knees. You will not go to your death. But Amara lifted her mother's chin gently, her eyes filled with sorrow yet lined with courage. Mama, if my life brings peace to our people, then let it be so. That midnight, under the blood-red glow of the moon, the royal family and a few trusted guards escorted Amara to Bar Beach, where the waves crashed louder than drums of war. The crowds followed, their faces lit with both hope and fear. Some carried charms, others cried prayers. Ayabo was among them, her scarred leg dragging, her eyes cold and sharp. She must pay, she muttered. The princess who smiles death. Amara stood at the edge of the waves, the ocean spray soaking her gown. Billionaire rushed to her side, gripping her hands tightly. Amara, don't do this, he begged, his voice breaking. There must be another way. I cannot lose you. She smiled sadly, her last gift. You already know, Billionaire. This is the only way. Tears streamed down his face as he pulled her into a final embrace. But as he released her, the waters began to stir. The sea split open. From its depths rose the spirit, her form now terrifyingly clear. A woman with the face of a queen and the body of the ocean, her long wet hair streaming behind her, her eyes glowing red. Her voice thundered across the shore. Child of fortune, come to me. The crowd screamed, some falling to their knees. The waves rose higher, threatening to swallow the land. Amara stepped forward, her bare feet sinking into the sand. Her voice shook but carried strength. If I give myself, will you spare my people? The spirit's lips curved into a cruel smile. Their fate lies with you. Come, and Lagos will live. Amara turned back one last time, her eyes locking with her parents, her friends, her people. She smiled, a smile filled not with fortune, but with love. And then she walked into the waves. The ocean swallowed her. The waters roared, the waves rising like mountains. For a terrifying moment, it seemed Lagos would be drowned. But then silence. The waves calmed. The wind stilled. The moonlight broke gently across the sea. The spirit was gone, and so was Amara. For days, Lagos mourned. The people who once cursed her now wept, realizing the princess had given her life to save them. Traders left offerings at the shore. Mothers told their children the story of the princess whose smile brought fortune and whose sacrifice brought peace. In the palace, Queen Mornike could not leave her chamber, her cries echoing through the halls. King Adeyemi, once so proud, now sat in silence, his crown heavy on his head. Elder Afani led prayers daily, his voice breaking with sorrow. But none wept more than Billionaire. He returned to the beach every night, staring into the waves, hoping to see her again. Sometimes, when the moon was high, the ocean breeze carried a faint whisper, and some swore that if you looked long enough into the waves, you would see her smile, shining softly beneath the water. The curse had taken her, but her memory lived on. Princess Amara, the girl whose smile brought fortune, and whose sacrifice saved Lagos. And that brings us to the end of this powerful tale. Princess Amara's smile brought fortune, but her sacrifice brought peace to Lagos. Stories like this remind us of the depth of African folklore, where love, destiny, and the supernatural intertwine. At Spiritual African Stories, we bring you cinematic storytelling inspired by African myths, culture, and legends, crafted to keep you on the edge of your seat. What do you think about Amara's fate? Would you have made the same sacrifice if you were in her place? Or would you have searched for another way to break the curse? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all, and your opinions shape the stories we bring to life. Your engagement keeps this community alive and growing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new African folktale that blends mystery, suspense, and spirituality. More thrilling stories are coming soon. Tales of love, betrayal, curses, and redemption straight from the heart of Africa. Stay tuned, because every story we tell here ends with one question. And this happened.